Yo, what's good? So I just caught SportsCenter on ESPN, and the entire panel was absolutely losing their minds about multiple massive and interconnected stories involving the New York Knicks that have fans simultaneously excited about potential blockbuster roster additions while also concerned about internal rotation decisions being made by head coach Mike Brown. There's seismic reporting emerging that Mike Brown has made it absolutely crystal clear internally within the Knicks organization that this team needs significantly more than just roster depth. He wants impact pieces that genuinely change and raise the championship ceiling of this entire franchise. And now, two specific high-profile options are legitimately on the table for serious consideration. Klay Thompson from the Dallas Mavericks and Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Memphis Grizzlies. But the SportsCenter crew emphasized that each player is becoming available on the trade and free agent market for completely different reasons that require separate analysis. But before diving into that blockbuster reporting about Brown's trade priorities, the panel had to address the shocking roster decision that nobody saw coming. Mike Brown has made a huge rotation decision regarding Ariel Hukporti. According to Brown's recent comments, Hukporti has completely lost his spot in the regular playing rotation moving forward. The Knicks currently look like one of the absolute best teams in basketball, and that success is thanks largely to Mike Brown's new defensive system and philosophy, plus his strategic decision to limit and tighten the rotation to just 9 core players who get consistent, meaningful minutes. Hey, what's up, everyone? Before we jump into this massive Knicks news, I just want to ask you for a quick favor that would mean the world to me. If you could just take 1 second right now and hit that like button, it would be incredibly important to me and helps this channel grow so much. I know it seems like a small thing, but those likes genuinely make a huge difference in getting this content out to more Knicks fans who need to stay updated on everything happening with this team. So seriously, just tap that like button real quick. It literally takes 1 second and it helps me out more than you know. But recently, Brown made a roster decision that genuinely shocked observers according to the SportsCenter analysis. According to reporting from NBA insider Stefan Bondi with the New York Post, opening night starter Ariel Hukporti remains completely out of the regular rotation. And when asked about it, Mike Brown said he wasn't even sure if Hukporti would be working his way back into consistent playing time. Here's exactly what Mike Brown said about Ariel Hukporti's situation. "I don't know. I can probably play 10 guys on a given night, and right now, Hukporti is not in my top 10 players. So he's just got to keep himself ready and prepared. And when his number is called, he's just got to go out there and play hard on both ends of the floor to earn his minutes back." The panel noted that Ariel Hukporti is a second-year center from Germany, who actually started twice this season in place of Mitchell Robinson when Robinson was managing his injury and minutes restriction. However, Hukporti genuinely struggled in those opportunities and has since been relegated to collecting only garbage time minutes over the last several games. Let's focus on a specific line that Brown said that the SportsCenter crew thinks is critically important to understand. Brown stated, "I can probably play 10 guys, and right now, Hukporti is not in that top 10. So just to fully comprehend this situation, right now the Knicks are playing 9 core players who get regular rotation minutes, and sometimes expanding to a 10th player depending on matchups. And that 10th player, when New York is fully healthy and Mitchell Robinson is starting at center, happens to be Precious Achiuwa. Nobody else is really getting legitimate minutes. None of the young developmental players like Pacome Dadiat, Tyler Kolek, and yes, Ariel Hukporti are seeing the floor in meaningful situations. So even if the Knicks organizationally wanted to play Hukporti and give him opportunities, he would be the 10th man off the bench at best, which means extremely limited and inconsistent minutes. If you need a clear example of what that looks like, all you have to do is examine Precious Achiuwa and his minute distribution. His playing time has fluctuated wildly up and down all season long. That's because when the Knicks are fully healthy, Achiuwa barely plays at all. But when New York is missing Mitchell Robinson or dealing with other injuries, Achiuwa suddenly plays 10-14 minutes per game to fill that void. The panel understands why that happens from a roster management perspective. Some people don't understand why Achiuwa is consistently playing over younger players like Hukporti, Kevin McCullough Jr., or other developing Knicks prospects. The main reason, according to the SportsCenter analysis, is because the Knicks signed Precious Achiuwa in free agency and made a financial investment into acquiring him. When you make that type of investment, you have an organizational obligation to see how that investment looks and whether it will pay dividend. So you have to give that player minutes at every single opportunity you can to properly evaluate what you have. And the analysts think that's exactly what Mike Brown is doing by playing Achiuwa over the younger prospect. However, in the panel's opinion, everyone knows the double big lineup absolutely works when deployed correctly. When Mitchell Robinson is not in game, the SportsCenter crew observes opposing players consistently targeting and attacking Karl Anthony Towns, or whoever happens to be playing center at that moment, specifically because Mitchell Robinson's rim protection and defensive presence is no longer on the floor deterring penetration. In order to prevent those defensive breakdowns, the best thing Mike Brown can do is try to replicate that twin tower lineup that works so effectively. And the only realistic way to accomplish that is to utilize another legitimate big man in the rotation. In the analyst's opinion, in those specific moments and matchup situations, Hukporti should be checking in immediately after Mitchell Robinson to maintain that defensive identity. Even though Ariel Hukporti is obviously not Mitchell Robinson in terms of defensive impact and rebounding, he's still a genuine 7-footer with size and length. The panel thinks if you want to replicate what Robinson provides when he can't play extended minutes due to his restrictions, the best strategic way to accomplish that is playing Ariel Hukporti alongside Karl Anthony Towns, or pairing Hukporti with another big rather than going small. That should be the main tactical approach New York employs right now, because if you do that, you're still able to effectively utilize your roster assets, you're still able to play favorable matchups, you keep what's currently working on the floor, and you likely prevent opposing teams from making those devastating runs that can swing game. That's exactly what New York wants to accomplish defensively, according to their stated identity. The SportsCenter crew genuinely believes Hukporti deserves additional developmental minutes this season, especially considering Mitchell Robinson is playing limited minutes, and some games not even suiting up due to load management protocols or back-to-back rest. Those opportunities and minutes are essentially made for Hukporti to step in and gain valuable experience. The analysts understand to some extent why New York continues playing Achiuwa, but they thought Mike Brown's entire coaching philosophy was going to be about playing the matchups and making tactical adjustments based on opponents. Sometimes the matchups clearly tell you that Hukporti is objectively the better option over Achiuwa for specific games. But even when that's obviously the case, the Knicks still don't make that change. The panel isn't sure if Ariel Hukporti is currently in Brown's doghouse because of poor performance, but when Hukporti was given early opportunities, he genuinely didn't do much with those chances. If you fail to capitalize on opportunities enough times under Mike Brown's system, maybe that permanently ruins your future chances to crack the rotation. But, in the analyst's opinion, that approach really doesn't make basketball sense for a young developing player. Hukporti is expected to make mistakes as a second-year player still learning NBA basketball. That's part of the natural development process. If you make mistakes and immediately get pulled from games without any leash, you can't possibly learn from those mistakes and grow. Let young players play through their errors, especially if you're facing a team that realistically isn't going to mount a comeback or threaten to beat you. If it's against one of those overmatched opponents, the SportsCenter crew thinks you should allow Hukporti to play significant minutes and genuinely develop his game through real playing experience. Hukporti, with legitimate game-time experience accumulated throughout this regular season, will be a legitimate weapon and difference-maker for New York in the postseason if he's given the proper opportunity to fail, learn from mistakes, and develop confidence. The panel emphasized that according to FanDuel Sportsbook's updated odds, the Cleveland Cavaliers are still favored to win the Eastern Conference at plus 200, with the New York Knicks in second place at plus 390. Although if the Knicks keep winning at their current pace, it's only a matter of time before they overtake that top spot in the odds. But going back to Mike Brown and his decision to essentially bench Ariel Hukporti moving forward, or at minimum not find consistent minutes for the young center, it's probably a very difficult situation to navigate. On one hand, if you're Mike Brown, you ideally want to play and develop as many players as possible to build organizational depth. But on the other hand, as an experienced head coach, you recognize when your players are responding positively to stability and consistent lineup combination. When you see that kind of positive response, you can either embrace it and run toward that stability, or you can ignore it and run away from what's working. Mike Brown has clearly chosen to run toward lineup stability and tightening the rotation. Over the last several games, has Brown been wrong with that approach? New York is on a 4-game winning streak, remains undefeated at Madison Square Garden, and the system is clearly working at an elite level. But in the SportsCenter panel's opinion, you can still accomplish all of this success and get these same winning results while simultaneously developing young players and giving them more opportunities. The only way to achieve both goals is by intelligently playing the matchups on a game-by-game basis, which is exactly what the analysts thought Mike Brown was going to emphasize when he was hired. Remember, one of the major reasons Brown was brought to New York in the first place is not only to win a championship, but also to develop the young Knicks players and build sustainable long-term success. But how are you genuinely developing these young prospects if they're not playing any meaningful minutes consistently? That's really the only significant criticism the panel has against Mike Brown's coaching approach over these last several games. But now, let's transition to the absolutely massive reporting about Brown's trade priority, because this could transform the Knicks into championship favorites. The situation is absolutely this, according to league sources. Mike Brown has made it emphatically clear internally within the organization that the New York Knicks need significantly more than just roster depth and complementary pieces. Brown wants impact acquisitions that genuinely change and raise the ceiling of this entire franchise to true championship contender status. And now, 2 specific high-profile options are legitimately on the table for serious organizational consideration: Klay Thompson and Jaren Jackson Jr. But each player is becoming available for completely different contextual reasons. Let's start with Klay Thompson because his availability is purely situational and based on his current circumstances in Dallas. Thompson is experiencing legitimately the worst start to any season of his entire Hall of Fame career while playing for the Dallas Mavericks. The numbers are genuinely shocking. Thompson is averaging only 7.6 points per game, with a horrific 31.6% shooting percentage from the field overall, and an even more concerning 26.4% from three-point range. His offensive impact has completely disappeared. The Mavericks organization, meanwhile, is occupying last place in the Western Conference and posting the worst offensive efficiency rating in the entire league. The complete lack of a primary shot creator and playmaker following Luka Doncic's absence has totally isolated and disconnected Klay Thompson's game from what made him successful. Mavericks head coach Jason Kidd has already moved Thompson to the bench, which represents a clear organizational message that the front office and coaching staff don't see this fit working anymore. But Thompson still possesses genuine value for contending teams that are searching for championship experience, elite floor spacing ability, and proven playoff performance. That's exactly where the Knicks enter the picture as a perfect destination. Mike Brown views Klay Thompson as providing elite shooting that spaces the floor, championship winning culture and mentality, and veteran locker room presence and leadership. Thompson is someone who can enter the rotation immediately and elevate the maturity and playoff experience of the entire roster. Now, let's discuss Jaren Jackson Jr. because his situation is fundamentally different from Thompson. Jackson isn't playing poorly or struggling individually. Quite the opposite, actually, as he continues being one of the most versatile and impactful defenders in the entire NBA. But the Memphis Grizzlies franchise is genuinely falling apart and deteriorating around him. Memphis has had a terrible start to the season with a losing record. There are recurring problems and drama involving Ja Morant's situation, and future Desmond Bane departed the previous year, which destabilized their offensive structure, and the current offensive system is poorly structured, with Jackson being dramatically underutilized despite his ability. Even after Jackson signed a massive contract extension worth $240 million over 5 years, there's a growing belief around the league that the Grizzlies organization might genuinely pivot toward a complete organizational reconstruction and rebuild. And the SportsCenter crew emphasized that the Knicks have been monitoring this situation closely for years, waiting for an opportunity. For Mike Brown, Jaren Jackson Jr. represents elite defensive anchoring at the rim, offensive and defensive versatility, both with and without the ball, the potential to be a franchise cornerstone piece rather than just a role player, and a long-term championship window that extends beyond just this season. Jackson is the type of acquisition that elevates the Knicks' ceiling from playoff team to legitimate title contender. So that was the full breakdown of Mike Brown's massive roster priorities, targeting both Klay Thompson and Jaren Jackson Jr., plus the controversial decision to remove Ariel Hukporti from the rotation entirely.